Howdy, most excellent rock buds, it's your Rock Papa. Today we have an interesting video for you on the geology of Mexico. Very interesting geology. We're going to learn about volcanic mountains and other kinds of mountains and the subduction process in mountain building. So stay tuned for that, and if this video is good for you, please subscribe, and thank you so much to all my subscribers. So here we go. The geology of the Mexico mountains. This map shows the country of Mexico outlined in little red dots. Now let's take a look at the different landforms of the country of Mexico. The Sierra Madre Occidental mountain range runs along the western edge of Mexico. Occidental means on the western side. The Sierra Madre Oriental mountains run along the eastern side of Mexico. And I bet you figured out Oriental means eastern side. The Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt runs along the southern side of Mexico from west to east. This belt of mountains is also called the Sierra Madre del Sur, which Sur means south, and this is where most of the hot volcanic action in Mexico is happening. In between the two mountain ranges, you have the high elevation Valley of Mexico. Mexico City is located here in the southern part of this great big valley, and Mexico City has an elevation above sea level of about 7,000 feet. That's higher up than the highest peak east of the Mississippi River. Okay, rock buds, let's look into the plate tectonic activities that are causing all these mountains and high valleys. See the blue line with the teeth in it? Wherever you see that line, it shows that Pacific Ocean crust is subducting underneath Central American land crust. And as we know, when ocean crust subducts underneath land crust, you get explosive volcanoes. So subduction is what's causing the volcanic mountains to form in the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, also called the Sierra del Sur Mountains. But what about further north? The Sierra Madre Occidental Mountains also have lots of active volcanoes, so what's going on there? This is the Baja Peninsula, and if you think it used to be connected to Mexico, you're right. In this location, the Pacific Ocean plate is moving to the northwest, and it's taken the Baja Peninsula with it. This is creating a rifting center between Baja and Mexico proper, giving rise to rifting volcanoes, which are not as explosive as subduction volcanoes. Hey rock buds, so what's going on with the Sierra Madre Oriental mountains running along the eastern side of Mexico? Let's find out. All the subduction and mountain building going on the western side of Mexico has created the Sierra Madre Oriental mountains on the eastern side by pushing the existing rocks up into big folds, something like this. These folds have been eroded, creating the Sierra Madre Oriental mountains of today. The high elevation Central Valley of Mexico is mostly made of intrusive igneous rocks that have been exposed by erosion. It's like lifting the lid on the subduction process so you can look into the magma chambers that have now cooled into rock. These would be mostly intrusive rocks like granite, which is a felsic rock, diorite, which is an intermediate rock, and gabbro, which is a mafic rock. Later on, we will see the lava versions of these three rocks. Let's look at some of Mexico's magnificent mountains. Here's the highest mountain in all of Mexico. It's called Pico de Orizaba. It is located in the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, also called the Sierra Madre del Sur Mountains, and it could erupt at any time. This baby is 18,940 feet above sea level. It is a good bit higher than Mount Whitney, which is 15,000 feet above sea level, our highest peak in the continental United States. Orizaba, like all stratovolcanoes, erupts all three kinds of lava. Dacite lava, which is a felsic lava, andesite lava, which is an intermediate lava, and basalt lava, which is a mafic lava. The highest peak in the Sierra Madre Occidental Mountains is Cerro Mohenora, an extinct volcano that rises to 10,860 feet above sea level. It's made of the same three kinds of lava rocks that we just looked at, but some sediments have covered parts of these rocks. The Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains are totally different from the mountains on the western and southern side of Mexico, where all the subduction is happening. Let's take a look at these mountains. The highest peak in the Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains is Cerro El Potosi. At 12,200 feet elevation, it is almost twice as high as Mount Mitchell, the highest peak in the eastern United States. Like most of the mountains in the Sierra Madre Oriental mountain range, Cerro El Potosi is made mostly of limestone. There are very few, if any, volcanic rocks in these mountains. Here are some pictures of limestone for you to look at. Limestone forms in a shallow ocean from shell creatures that die and fall to the bottom of the ocean, and their bodies get mashed and smashed and form the rock called limestone. And as you know, limestone reacts to strong acid. So when we put strong hydrochloric acid on limestone, it fizzes. That's a great test for limestone. So, rock buds, how did all this limestone on the bottom of the ocean get pushed up into mountains? Good question. All that mountain building on the western side of Mexico, created by the subduction zone, caused great pushing and shoving to the east, and that pushed the limestone into big folds and then broke them into faults, and then erosion has exposed the limestone and formed these beautiful Sierra Madre Oriental peaks. If you visualize the blue layer in this picture as the limestone, you kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. Limestone is the best rock ever for caves because rainwater, which is a weak acid, hits on the limestone and eats big holes all in it, so it's like a sponge. Limestone with all these holes and caves and chambers in it is called karst topography. If you take a sponge, which has got lots and lots of holes in it, and start pumping water into it, all the holes get filled up with water and it holds all that water. The same thing happens with volcanoes and limestone that's riddled with holes. All the super hot magma in the volcano is full of gold and silver and lead and copper, and hot water picks up all that gold, silver, lead, and copper and then gets pumped into the limestone, filling the holes in the limestone up with some of these valuable metals, creating valuable mining opportunities. This process is called mineralization. Let's take a look at an example of mineralization in the Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains. The red splotch on this map of Mexico shows the town of Galeana. It's right in the middle of these limestone mountains, and millions of years ago, the volcanoes pumped these mountains full of a metal called lead. As a matter of fact, in Spanish, Galeana means place of lead, and this is an entrance to a lead mine near Galeana, Mexico. Here's a picture of the lead ore that came out of the mine. Lead ore just means lead mixed with other kinds of rocks. Here is the Pozo del Gavilán in Galeana. It's just a gigantic hole where rainwater seeped into the limestone and ate this huge hole in it. That white circle around it is actually a road, and that'll tell you how big this thing is. The bottom of it leads to an underground network of caves. Okay, rock buds, that's the story on the geology of Mexico. Thank you so much for watching, and if this video is interesting to you, please subscribe. This is your Rock Papa saying happy rock hunting. Papa out.